Man, this is one of my favorite topics to get into, at least on this show, specifically for this episode, because you and I, we've been going back and forth about this topic for the longest, and it is the Grammys and the importance of the Grammys and why artists seem to be tripping about the Grammy nods and who is nominated, who is not nominated. I think this is a perfect opportunity to touch on that subject because the Grammy nominations for 2021 was announced, and you better believe there were a lot of people who were unhappy. And I ain't talking about D-Smoke fans. I am talking about people who the culture felt like should have been recognized for the Grammys, seem to have been left out for whatever reason. So yeah, I wanted to talk about that with you, man, because you know, outside of the obvious people, which we'll get into in a little bit, like let's actually talk about why people care about the Grammy so much, like are these artists, and whether or not there can ever be a platform that can be run independently of the Grammys that will ever mean as much or even close to as much as the Grammys seem to do for artists. What's your take on, you know, the Grammys in general, and then also some of the people who you maybe felt should have been on the Grammy nomination list that were not on the Grammy nomination list? And by the way, I ain't talking about no country music. So I'm gonna be very clear. We are a centrally rap, hip hop, R&B show, and we're gonna be sticking to those specifically for this particular review. But go ahead, bro. I ain't got time for Beck.
We ain't talking about Blake Shelton.
I ain't got time for no Beck. I ain't got time for Billie Eilish. Nah, man, I'm cool.
What? Okay, so you know, honestly, I think people really started to question the Grammys when they had the nerve to say that Macklemore and Ryan Lewis's that album that they had, I think it's The Heist. Is that what it's called?
I believe it was The Heist.
The Heist.
Might have been the one right after, but I'm pretty sure it was The Heist.
Yeah.
Let me look that up.
They had the nerve to say that that album was better than Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, Mad City album. So I actually like Macklemore. I don't think that album is bad, but when you make such a monumental mistake, a mistake that everybody is clear as day can tell that Good Kid, Mad City is the best album, and it ends up going to Macklemore, people start to open their eyes up. And each year they've made some type of mistake like that, and not colossal like that one, but mistake after mistake after mistake. And now it's gotten to a point where you can't make any more mistakes. You guys we're already on thin ice. So what that tells me, there's a disconnect between the people that are in the Grammy committee and the people that listen to hip hop music on a daily basis. I don't think they understand like what is actually like good music in hip hop anymore. I think what the Grammys try to do is they try to be like, yo, we know music more than you guys. So we're going to go and pick somebody random as hell to say they have the album of the year just to prove a point that like we know music more than the average consumer. It's almost like music, hip hop music in particular, people are ashamed of mainstream. There's nothing to be ashamed of when it comes to mainstream music. Music is good if it's good. Like, I'm tired of this whole thing of like somebody knows more about music. Underground music is the real hip hop. Boom bap rap is the real hip hop. That's what should be getting credit. No, good music is good music. And to me, the Grammy committee has just not been able to understand that notion. And I think that's the problem that they're having right now.
Yeah. So with that, that's facts. And with that, let's get into some of these nominations, man. Best rap album, we got D-Smoke with Bad Habits. I actually remember that album. I remember didn't on Ratings Game Music, didn't Kobe do that review?
Did it.
Am I tripping?
Yeah,
Kobe did that, right? I believe she gave it an A. So listen, And I heard it. I heard it too. So I'm not even sitting here saying the album was trash. Like the album was really, really good. This is I think the biggest thing, and this needs to be said too, because I don't see a lot of people saying this enough. You know, when you have a difference of opinion as far as who should be on the Grammy nomination list, yes, it takes away from the people who were nominated, but it doesn't mean the things that we don't believe should be there is trash by any means. You know, it's just more so us saying, or at least I'm speaking for myself, me saying there is something that was better, more commercially successful. It touched the culture more. It deserves more recognition than the things that were presented to the Grammys and presented to the people. So with D Smoke being nominated for Best Rap Album of the Year, huh? Yo, listen. Let me get into some album. You know what? Okay, before I get into that, let me just read the list. For those of you guys who are not familiar, we got Freddie Gibbs and The Alchemist with their joint album called Alfredo, dope ass project. I'm a fan of that. Jay Electronica, A Written Testimony. You and I, Q, we talked about that album at length a while ago. Y'all can go back and listen to our review of that. I'll give you guys the episode link. The episode number of which one we talked about that. King's Disease by Nas, and then The Allegory by Royce da 5'9". Listen, you'll get no argument from me. I think every album on there was a great album this year. It was either really good to great. However, here are some albums that I believe should actually have been listed for best rap album of the year. Number one, Roddy Ricch. Now, I know what people are gonna say. The Grammy committee. Oh, but we want to put him in melody, progressive rap, whatever the hell you guys call what Roddy Ricch does, because he's not a traditional rapper. If you notice, everybody on that list, with the exception of D Smoke, who is a singer and he even speaks Spanish. Can you believe that? Like, he speaks fluent Spanish. Incredible performance he put up on that album. However, I believe the performance that Roddy Ricch did and had on Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial, number one, was more commercially successful, and it was just better. Like, it hit the culture better. How the hell are we going to ignore and act like Roddy Ricch didn't drop an incredible debut album? I digress. That's one. Q, would you agree with that, or you got any? You disagree? We can go down the list.
I agree. It was also very successful.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did really good on the Billboard charts. That means something.
Hell yeah. And while Roddy Ricch seemed to have been acknowledged for some of his songs, like The Box, he got a lot of love on the Grammys for that in nominations, which, I mean, that's no surprise. But I just felt like Pop Smoke, Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon, Lil Uzi Vert, Eternal Atake, Lil Baby, My Turn. Some of those four albums to me deserved more recognition, in my opinion, than Bad Habits by D Smoke. And I would even take out A Written Testimony by Jay Electronica. It's not me taking shots at him per se, but I just don't believe the album should be Grammy nominated as best rap album of the year. I think where we have gotten to with the Grammys, it seems like these people on the board seem to have an agenda to want to highlight and prop up people who are traditional hip hop. Remember, you and I, Q, we talked about this last episode and how traditional artists don't really like the success of alternative hip hop and some of the new school guys, right? And I think this is kind of in that vein. You know, it seems like the industry, the powers that be, quote unquote, don't seem to be comfortable with giving credit where credit is due to some of the new school guys. But I just think it's crazy to me how those albums went unnoticed. You say what to that?
I agree, 100%. I mean, if you look down the line, every one of those people are lyricists. Like D Smoke's a lyricist, Freddie Gibbs a lyricist, Jay Electronica, lyricist. Like there was no love for that melodic rapper, but then at the end of the day, melodic rap is what's dominating. So it's like I said, it just goes back to the whole like feeling of what do you think real hip hop is? And I get it. Like if you were just trying to nominate one person, okay, I get it. You pick one person, but give some variety. Like hip hop is not one dimensional. If you're gonna give 2-3 lyricists an opportunity, give somebody that does melodic rap an opportunity. Like, you know, that's why one of the proudest moments, in my opinion, in Grammys history was seeing Trap Queen on there, like a couple years back. Like Trap Queen absolutely deserved to be nominated for Grammy, even though a lot of people are going to say, "Oh yeah, that's stupid rap," or "That's brain dead rap." Like at the end of the day, it's not about what you want. It's about you noticing as a Grammy committee what's good, what's impactful, what's pretty much revolutionary in terms of hip hop. And to me, those albums are all good. But when you look back in retrospect, they're not revolutionary albums. They're just really good rap albums. You know what I mean? Like it didn't change anything. But if you would have gave Lil Uzi Vert a Grammy or like nominated him for a Grammy, you're recognizing where rap is going. And 10 years from now is going to look better that you actually had that as a nominee. It's going to look better. You can't be looking backwards. You got to be looking forward also. And to me, the Grammys is the highest level of music award. And if you're going to be the highest level of music award, you got to be more responsible than that, in my opinion.
Yeah, and to cap this all, because I do want to move on. You know, I want to point out that The Weeknd, who dropped a album which was incredibly well performing this year, called After Hours, was nowhere near the list this year for R&B, for alternative, for anything. He was not mentioned. And Drake, some of your favorite artists, seem to be coming out every single day. And by the way, Drake has won Grammy. So this is not somebody who's never won a Grammy feeling salty. He even went up on the stage and said, "Yo, this Grammy don't mean anything. Like it doesn't mean anything. I don't understand why we put too much emphasis on this particular award." However, The Weeknd was snubbed. I think that's egregious. I think it makes no sense. Everybody's coming out, man. So I think ultimately, man, we got to figure out, are we still going to support the Grammys? Like, and bigger than that, how have we given this amount of power to the Grammys where they can make the emotions of these artists just get distorted and just taken aback? You know what I'm saying? Like, it seems to be a very emotional hit. I mean, look at somebody like Wale, who's been seemingly in his entire career aiming to get a Grammy. I've heard him in interviews like, "Yo, man, I want a Grammy, I want a Grammy, I want a Grammy," and he refuses to be acknowledged by the Grammy board. You can argue whether that's right or wrong, but to me, that puts you in the mind of the artist. They seem to want that prize. However, the people who are rewarding them don't get it. Period. They don't get it.
Maybe what they need to do is make a new genre like that they recognize. Like rap it's too dynamic to just say rap. Like you need something like maybe melodic rap, maybe I don't know, alternative rap, progressive rap, like we discussed last episode. You got to come up with something else because way too many people are getting snubbed. I get it. I get their way of thinking because if you think about it, like some of these albums are very high quality, I know, but too many people are getting snubbed that actually put out really good bodies of work. But I will say this, just to close out, one last thing.
Right.
I'm glad they just did not put Eminem as a nominee. I feel like every single time Eminem comes out with an album, they put him as a nominee. Eminem's albums have been horrible.
Well, you know why.
Put him as a nominee.
You know why he's on the nominee list.
I'm glad they learned because Eminem was eligible to be a nominee. He did not make it with his Music to Be Murdered By. So they're learning a little bit, but they still got a long way to go.